and welcome back to A Toy Kind of Mood, episode 22, Dioramas. All right, so as always, when we were kids, we used to have multitude of play sets. We had either Castle Grayskull, the Ghostbusters Fire Station, Snake Mountain. We're adults, and we still have them, but they've kind of grown with us. All right, as always, I'm your co-host, Bobby Behart, and with me is our esteemed panel, KJ, Fabster, and Kevin. All right, so guys, first off, welcome.
Hello. Thanks, Robert.
Robert. So dioramas. Let's be real here. I haven't made a I made like a diorama out of a loot crate box, but you guys have a whole nother level and a whole other appreciation to it. So I'm gonna just right off the bat, because I haven't made a diorama since maybe college, maybe. That being said, I'm gonna throw it to well, dude, Kevin, you got everything behind you, man. Dioramas. What is it about dioramas that we love?
One thing that I think that shines through the best with dioramas is it just already enhances your existing collection. It's a good way to showcase the figures. It kind of really like brings them to life. One of the things is as a kid, kind of like when I stopped playing with toys, I just kind of wanted more. Like, when you're a little kid, your whole imagination can like do that for you. Like when I'm playing with Batman and he's going through, riding the Batmobile, going through the city streets and whatever. But then as I got older, I was just like, I kind of want the city and I want the streets. I was like, my imagination just wasn't there anymore. I was just like, I have to like take boxes, cut holes in them, make them buildings, and put lights inside, and then like have the Batmobile riding around on streets, because my imagination just wasn't like, I couldn't invent that for myself anymore. And so like now the diorama, what that does is it kind of just captures the moment of like where those figures should be and like how they should be displayed, and it just kind of like makes it a little bit more, I mean, I guess adult, for lack of a better word, because
it legitimizes the whole thing, right?
It does.
Right. Well, my history with Dios is actually pretty similar, because my like first collector toy line, as in the early 2000s, was Marvel Legends, and the Toy Biz Marvel Legends each came with their little bases a lot of the times, right? So I would basically turn the base and like thumbtack it to like a cardboard box, and like, I don't know, the Daredevil came with a window. Now I put that window on that box. That is now a church. Like, each one was kind of pegged into its place, and I would do the same thing. It was having like the imagination of having the whole scene. But obviously now as adults, technology and the hobby has grown with us, where at least for me, it's turned into kind of the inspiration for a lot of photography as well. So I'm getting figures that I want to photograph, and I want dioramas to photograph them in. And it doesn't always have to go as far as constructing a full thing, because photography allows you to kind of cheat the imagination a little bit, which I definitely appreciate, and it's something that draws me to that hobby a lot.
KJ, even taking it back till like when I was a kid, I used to take construction paper and I would make buildings for my Megazords to fight in the middle of, or I would take, oh my goodness, I would take like green paper and cut out little dollar bills and like tape them together, and I would even make like the brown paper bags for the money to go in for my villains to steal. So it's just really just elevating that to the next level, and it's great. It's sort of like the connecting you to that part of creativity when you were just a kid. It really is a vital part of it once you access it.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's pretty much what it boils down to.
What about you, Robert? Are you not a big Dio guy, like, at all yourself?
I mean, I do, and this actually, thank you. This segues into the next one. I live in a one-bedroom apartment. I don't have the space and or maybe the resources, if you will, to create what y'all guys do. I mean, y'all make some beautiful masterpieces. Me, like, I love dios. They, like, I think Kevin said it best. It does. It makes it more. Like, instead of just having my figures there, now I've got He-Man. Like, Kevin's got Snake Mountain back there. in storage where all my stuff is. I've got Castle Grayskull and Snake Mountain, and you put it up there, and you can they actually they have a home. They're not just on a shelf. They actually look like they belong in that universe.
Right.
I love Dios. I still have, and I actually do kind of cross. So when I used to, I had the Ghostbusters fire station, the Ghostbusters Ecto-1 were in the station, and on top I had the Turtles fighting Shredder because it's New York.
That's cool.
Where they're gonna fight.
That's what you call, a display diorama. That's, kind of like what Kevin has there with Snake Mountain. Is it's a diorama that is like part of the toy display, and it's where the figures are housed.
Right. Now, since I have you two guys here, and what do y'all prefer, the store bought, or do you prefer making your own, or both?
Who wants?
KJ, I'm gonna shoot to KJ first.
All right. Well, I mean, if I definitely had the time, I'm one of the lucky few to work from home. So my weeknight hours, my weekends rather, are very precious. So I don't always have the time that I would like to take foam and paint and everything else and make those dials. So I end up buying quite a few things. One of my favorite brands, and Fabio can attest to this, 12 World. Yep. So these usually come from China. You can get them from Big Bad Toy Store. If you're lucky, you can get them from Hobby Search, Plaza Japan, perhaps, AliExpress. Just showing off one of these. So this is like a blasting ruins. Mm-hmm. So it's already there. Everything's already there. The sculpting is fantastic. Mm-hmm. You can take a figure if you want and just plop them in there and just make them part of the display piece. Yeah. Right? So,
and those are like little modular girders too, right? So
yes. So some of these actually come out. So like this, one of these beams. So that just helps me save a lot of time. But I'm very envious of those that actually put in the work and the sweat equity to build their diodes. I'm just not there yet. I'll just go ahead and get them prefabricated, if you will.
Now, speaking of building diodes, and I'm going to shoot to you, Kevin, because you've got one right behind you.
Well, I got the Hellfire Club. I didn't technically build that, but I did plus it up. I can show it off as best as I can. All these accessories bought from China. There was this like little play set from Target they had maybe about 2-3 years ago. It was like this ballerina like thing. Like I don't know the name of the brand, but this one on clearance for $13. So I gutted it, ripped everything out of it, and then just bought the designer paper like for wallpaper. Put the fireplace that came with the Marvel Select Emma Frost. This is that's a custom Emma Frost right there, sitting, being the white queen that she is. I'll try to get this closer for everybody to see. This is the whole Hellfire Club in there. And basically, well, there's a couple custom action figures in there too. I customized Jason and Leland, and this whole Hellfire Club is from the San Diego exclusive from last year. The bookshelf and the couch and the ridiculous bearskin rug that's on there, all from China, because you just have to, Google stuff. But that's not what I actually custom built. Like what I custom built is directly behind me. I've got this. It's not put together with magnets like most customizers do.
Wait, can you say that again?
A lot of customizers put it together with magnets. So I didn't install the magnets yet, but I can try to, let's see if I could show everybody. So it's basically, it's a little sewer layer play set that I did for like the boys probably watching April on TV. Splinter, I bought these parts from Home Depot. I cheated a little bit with the bricks because the brickwork should be smaller, but it's just like, this is my very first from scratch dio I've ever done.
It looks fine to me.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And then there's a lot of customizers out there. I think one of the guys, he's on ACBA Collectibles. He's awesome. He's basically been my mentor without even knowing it throughout Rona times, like to teach me how to do this. And then there's another one, I think his name is Rick Creations. He did a dio that's similar to this that inspired me to do this, but I didn't want to completely rip him off. Plus he did a much bigger one. He didn't do the pipes and stuff with like the sewage coming out of it. So I wanted to just do something to make it a little bit more my own rather than completely rip somebody else's idea off.
And that's D-top size too, right?
Yeah, it's D-top size. So like I had to shrink it down because it's 14 inches wide, 12 inches deep, like D-tops are. because I just don't have like, I mean, look at all the dioramas I have. Like, I just don't have the shelf space for it. For this, I got to shove it in a detolf, close the door, and be done with it, because I just can't have all of this stuff. Like, just I have a geek room. I have a 2-bedroom, so my second bedroom is my geek room. I'm lucky enough to have that.
As it should be.
Yeah. And there is a bed in there for guests, but they just have to sleep amongst the toys.
Whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, whatever.
They should be so lucky.
Yeah.
Right.
Fabio, what do you got, man?
Well, my experience kind of runs the gamut between both Kevin and KJ. So this is perfect because like Kevin has with his diorama there, I actually, when I was getting into ACBA and getting into toy photography myself through Instagram, this was like 2013, when like this, was barely a whisper in the community. Like hardly anyone was really doing like diorama photography and stuff like that. It was a lot of like outdoor toy photography. So ACBA like really got everybody on board with this being, a legitimate art form, and kind of elevated the game a little bit. So when I realized that this was something that I wanted to do, I was like, okay, well, I got to learn from the best. I learned like Kevin from ACBA Dial Builders, like Al Figures. There's a guy named, I wanted to say Al Snow, but it's not Al Snow. It's AJ Frost, actually, was his name. He's not really doing stuff anymore. But a lot of these like old dudes old heads, let's say, that everyone who's doing stuff now low key learned from, just like you, Kevin. So starting out like that, I made a fair amount of dioramas, and I was collecting Legends and NECA mainly at the time. So the way I had it arranged in my display, if you actually go on my YouTube, you can see my NECA display video has all of my NECA dioramas on top of the detail. So I had one that I made for Turtle, because I had a little rooftop dio for like the comic Mirage Turtle that were the only ones they had at the time to kind of date, before the big NECA Turtles boom. I had one for Alien. I had one for my Predators. I had just like each display had its own diorama, and then there was the stuff in the details. But eventually I got to the point where I have so many foam dios, and they're all breakdown and modular, and you can put them away in storage. But in moving like 2 or 3 times since then and having to put them in storage, just like the sheer bulk of it and like the fragility of a lot of the foam dioramas has kind of turned me off that being like my main diorama focus, especially now that I've upgraded to more premium figures. I don't want to put, expensive figures on hand painted stuff that I'm not sure if it's properly varnished or if it's properly coated. And if I'm doing it myself, I'm, going to be honest and say that I'm not confident enough in my abilities to know that the stuff that I make won't damage my figures. Mm-hmm. So I've kind of migrated since then into more store-bought stuff. And even with like custom dioramas from, that are more expensive, like foam dioramas, you're not, even if the builder is doing everything as best as possible, it's really hard to like guarantee that kind of, it's handmade at the end of the day. It's a fragile thing no matter what. So for me, I've kind of shifted over to more like factory made, kind of like what KJ has with the 12-year-old stuff. I've got a pretty sizable collection of 12-year-old dials that I'm sure we'll show pretty soon here, and I'll layer in some photos and stuff. But really, since my focus has shifted more from using the dioramas like in the display to more using them just for photography, I've kind of downsized the type of dials that I need to just like modular, small pieces that I can use background, foreground, middle grounds, and like only certain angles of, so that it creates the illusion and that it's this full world, but really it's literal, like, like the one KJ just showed. I got this one here. I mean, this is just a literal like slice of a world.
Right.
And obviously, if you just have the figure on here, I'll bring in, who do I have here? I'll bring in my custom Nick Fury here. You can put him here, and he looks great. This could be a great like figure stand. Like you could just stand here and look dope on the display. But I don't have the shelf space for having a full diorama on there all the time. So I bring this thing in and out when I want to use it for photos. And if I could switch to my camera angle here, I'll actually just show you how some of that might look when it's layered together. God, I was expecting this to go a little smoother. If I turn on some lights, see, I got a little display going here with
cool
Netflix Daredevil and Punisher. Turn on some background lights. These are all modular pieces inside of one big diorama. So if I blow it out, see all the pieces that are just layered in here.
Mhm.
but I'm really only trying to capture one angle. So I block out everything else. I've got a nicely layered foreground, middle ground, background for this photo.
It's really nice.
This is a rough kind of example, but in proper studio lighting and setting, you would really be able to sell this illusion. But this is all stuff that you just move around that doesn't have to be here if you don't want it to. And I think that's more what I like, and that's in terms of actual display dioramas. I'll switch back here. I've gone a little more simple, and if I'm doing a detox diorama, I just want a wall just to sit in the back like I have here with Popeye, and like I have my Black Panther throne room. I got a little street scene down there for those guys. That's all, because really what I'm trying to do is display the figures on the shelf. So I'm trying to minimize the amount of room that the diorama itself takes so that the figures can still stand out. But if you're trying to take a cool picture, it still works,
It does work. It looks really good. It looks
It does. No,
professional.
I'm gonna jump to Kevin real quick before I get to Fabio and KJ, because of social media is something that I think that, since we're doing this, can be discussed. But Kevin, when you design, like when you did your DTOF like Turtles layer or the Hellfire Club, what are your steps? Do you like sketch it out first, or do you like, this is what I want, and you just like jump into it?
Well, I guess because like the way my brain works, like it's kind of like a bag of cats. Like it's just like there's just so much going on. Like with my personal creative process, like I just don't know where to start. But I'm just like, because like when I saw that fireplace with the Emma Frost, is like that would look really cool if that was like in like, say, like an X Mansion or some kind of thing like that, like where the we'll get to the X Mansion eventually. We're going to talk about extreme sets. But I was like, and Hellfire Club is like they're like my favorite X-Men baddies, because they're rich, they're mutants, and they're a bunch of bitches. And it's just great, like having them like to fight the X-Men, and there's like this aristocracy, and you would think that this is kind of like like this could work as a scene from the mansion as well. If I put books, it could be like Xavier's study. I could put a desk, so like you could do lots of other stuff with that. So my creative process is like with that Ninja Turtles display. Like I said, I was inspired by that customizer, Rick Creations. He inspired me by that, but then also like most of that, if you're making it authentic to the cartoon, there's not really a lot of wiggle room. You have to have the stop sign. You have to have that like Mothra like animated picture, because that's what's in that, and they have a purple couch, so you really can't. I mean, like if you're going to make it authentic to the cartoon, you just basically have to do what the cartoon shows you to do. Like you can make it your own, which I did, but I just look at it, see other people's dioramas, and then like I guess imitation is the highest form of flattery, because I look at it and I'm like, no, I want to do the same thing, but also I want to make it my own. I've never seen somebody do a Hellfire Club with this set. A lot of people have this set.
Yeah.
And they've done many other things with it. They've like spray painted it, they've weathered it, they've turned it into like something. Oh, there you go. He's got it.
I've just got, usually I put, random figures that I have nowhere else to really put, but it's just kind of like an office.
That's amazing.
Or like an apartment,
That's
so I just put random, bookcases, and also a fireplace, and then the piano that this set comes with. It just works. It's a cool, just little. I call it Malibu Steve's apartment.
I love it. Yeah. Yeah. Like, so where did you get that desk, by the way? Is that for 12-inch, or is that for?
Yeah, these are for 1/12 scale. So they're all about 6-inch. There's some Diamond Select props in there, so I'm glad you brought up the fireplace and stuff, because that's something that I did early in my collecting career too, is just buy dumb figures that come with really cool accessories. So I bought the entire like Diamond Select Gotham line, and I sold the figures, and I have the desk, and I actually know this desk that I just showed you is from the X-Files set. So there was the Scully and Mulder, and one of them came with the desk, and one of them came with a chair. So you got to get both.
Yeah.
And then Diamond Select Gotham has like a bunch of street scenes and like a scaffold, all stuff that is like prefabbed that you can like work into then custom dioramas. It's a kind of different rabbit hole to go down, but that's kind of why I have the apartments, because I like to display the accessories too, and it's just a repository for them.
Do Do you know that they did, I think it was Diamond Select, maybe it was NECA, I don't even think it was Mezco. They did this matrix like staircase. It had,
Yeah.
you know what staircase I'm talking about?
Yeah, that's McFarlane. That's old school McFarlane.
That's McFarlane. I wish I could have that because like
Yeah.
there's so many things I can do with that. And it's expensive. It's like I think the cheapest you can get it for is like $180.
Yeah, it's not an easy thing to find, and especially in good condition. And a lot of people use that to like only be a slice of the scene, and then you attach another wall to it, and you can continue that room. You know, it's literally just the staircase.
There's also that play set they did for Buffy the Vampire Slayer. It's like the library.
The library.
That's expensive.
It's huge, yeah.
Yeah. So
But
expensive.
And the Buffy line has a ton of figures with really good accessories. And McFarlane too. I think this drum set, which I broke the symbols off earlier, this is from like a Kiss figure from McFarlane. You know,
That's cool.
just dumb stuff that I'm like, well, okay, this is cool. I'll just get it for the figure, for the accessory.
KJ mentioned something before we started filming where it's, you know, like that 2020 vision we wish we had. That staircase, I remember walking into like, you know, like Fry's or FYE or I think Spencer's up in Austin. And it was in the clearance section.
Mm-hmm. Sam Goody probably had it too.
Suncoast Video.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, okay, 20 years ago, whatever. Anyways, but they were just in the clearance section because no one wanted them. And now, you know, I could have easily gotten those for like, you know, pennies.
Yeah.
Well, that's one of the strategies of collecting. It's like you really have to fire up your imagination because you can find those things that are clearance, half off, 75% off. And you're like, I know what to do with this. And that's when you get it. And even if you just have it off by the wayside, when it's time to really stunt with it, you know, it's there. And then you can take a piece, add some extensions to it, and just really make it sing.
Yeah, I'm sad about some of those, but
I know.
Yeah.
We all have our regrets.
If with that stimmy, I might be able to buy myself that Buffy library, but I don't know if I want to drop all that, you know, Buffy library.
That's also an interesting thing to consider is how that's come back. Like back then, that was just kind of a no-brainer. Like these companies were just throwing play sets and cool accessories in with these figures. And then, you know, the market changed and things went very bare bones for a while, but now it's coming back around and companies are starting to realize that this is partially, you know, because of toy photographers and the toy community on Instagram and ACBA, all these factors have made the companies kind of rethink the way that they want to sell these figures. And dioramas and more accessories, accessory packs, all that stuff is definitely more prevalent because of how the hobby has evolved. Yes. And I mean, even my latest Mezco purchase comes with its own playset. You know, it's amazing. Like it's so great that the companies are really doubling down and giving collectors more options to display not just the figures but display the collections.
Yeah.
Mezco and Hasbro. If you can't tell, we kind of love y'all. All right, that was our little plug. Kevin, what were you gonna say, buddy?
I was gonna say really quick, just to piggyback on what Fab said, that I got the, you know, that you guys saw in the chat, I have the Inspector Gadget, those 4 figures. Yes. So if you buy the deluxe version, you get the street like diorama with it. So I figured for the extra $20, might as well get like the little trash can and like, you know, the scene and like it's got like Pow and Bang and Go-Go Gadget. Like I could build the whole thing, but again, space.
Yeah.
If you guys saw the geek room, like this is all the geek room and then more. So which you'll probably throw those pictures up at some point. But yeah, there's too much. I was like, I got to switch stuff out. Maybe, I don't know, put something in my bedroom. But I was like, I kind of like being an adult and having my bedroom. Yeah, having no toys in my bedroom. But whatever, you got to do what you got to do.
Well, now, Fabio, you mentioned something, and it was perfect because I'm going to jump to you and KJ because y'all both take amazing pictures with your dios.
Thank you.
And you're welcome. And y'all's Instagrams. Let's be real here. And there's one thing that Instagram should be used for. It's toys. Mm-hmm. All right. Thank God we moved from the food to the action figure because it's action, and y'all have some great action pieces, some great work there. Do you know going in to your shots like this is what I want, or you just kind of look at your wealth and like, let's do these two today?
Yeah, I just jumping in. I definitely have like a scene that I want to pull off, and then I build from the ground up, right? So, like for example, Bandai SH Figure Arts just came out with their final battle edition of Thor and Thanos. And when those were up for pre-order, I was like, I'm getting Iron Man, I'm getting Cap, I'm gonna get Iron Spider. I even bought like, hold on a second, I even have it here. I even have colored turf.
Yeah.
That I can basically spray paint foam board or poster board, sprinkle that on there, and then I can have different effects and just recreate that fight scene between Thanos and the three amigos. So I've been building up to that for a while. That's going to be like a landmark series on my Instagram, Black Genghis, for the follow. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
That's dope. For me, I usually start with, honestly, for me, it starts with a pose, really. Like, if I get a new figure, I'm posing it around the desk. I'm watching, I hate watching Batwoman on HBO Max or something. And I'm just like, I'm looking at the fight scenes and I'm like, oh, cool. I'd like to do a little something with, these dudes fighting. They're in a pose. And then it's like, all right, well, where would it make sense for them to be? Well, a destroyed building with a fence and all that stuff, that works for me. But that's kind of an ACBA thing that was kind of drilled into me is the posing is by far one of the most important aspects of the photo. Of course, you can, fudge some things with angles and all of that. But at the end of the day, like if I'm looking at it at my desk and I'm just like, I'm 2 episodes deep and I finally realize, okay, this looks good. Then it's time to like put it behind the lens and then put stuff into the lens from there. Like I just kind of frame it, put the figures in and see where the focus is, and then start adding little elements from there, which I think is kind of the opposite of what a lot of people try when first getting into ACBA and toy photography is like doing the full setup and then you get your camera and then you try to find that angle, right? And that's where you end up with a lot of very floaty, like from the top down, still looks like you're looking at figures type of shots. This is more personal style. Since I work in the film industry, I have a more cinematic style to my photography. So I don't incorporate word balloons because I'm not making like comic panels. I'm trying to make it look cinematic. Gotcha. So, more dramatic lighting, more colored lighting, and really tight angles where it really doesn't matter like how much or how little of the diorama you see because it could just be one blurred part, but it's all just meant to fill out a scene. It's crazy the amount of work that goes into like a TV show that you never even notice. Right. And I kind of bring that same sensibility to my photography.
Just tossing that out there, ACBA is articulated comic book art. So right. If you go on Instagram, search that hashtag, all one word, articulated comic book art, you'll see some really dope stuff.
Right. And I'm so used to it that it's really, I forget that there might be people that don't really know about articulated comic book art, right? And it's crazy because it is kind of become synonymous with toy photography. Like Hasbro is using the term ACBA in official statements. Like, oh, you're gonna love this for your ACBA, guys. It's a really big, legitimizing thing, and it just goes to show you that these companies are listening and they're keeping up with these trends, and the collectors and the influencers really do have like kind of a say in what's happening and what's cool in this hobby, and it's what keeps it evolving.
Now, Fabster, while you were talking, I laughed. It wasn't what you were saying. I had a really funny joke that I thought you were gonna do.
Oh, please!
But it's when you said when you're 2 episodes in, and I was hoping you'd say, and you realize the show sucks, and you go into making something better.
Right. I mean, with TV, I love bad TV shows anyway. Like I know because I've worked on enough that I'm just like, yeah, I see what they're doing here. That probably went wrong that day, and I'm enjoying it on that aspect.
Right. And to the cast and crew of Batwoman, listen, I understand you're doing something really cool. I tried giving the season 1 a try. You know what? Season 2, I'm hearing good things, so maybe I'll jump on to season 2. Right. So now with that, all right. So we are actually running out of time on part 1. That's right, fans. Whoever you are watching this wonderful episode.
Appreciate all of them.
Everyone is watching this episode, Robert.
Yeah, I know. What am I thinking? Everyone is, including Oprah.
Yep.
Now, this is our first 2-parter episode because dioramas are so expansive and there's a lot of work that goes into it. We broke this up into 2 parts so that you didn't have to sit through an hour of hearing me make bad jokes. So with that being said, this is the end of part 1. Everyone, give me your social media handles, por favor. KJ.
Black Genghis, Instagram.com/Black Genghis. All of the unification without the genocide.
You know what, KJ? That's why we love you.
That's
no
lit.
genocide.
And you can find me on Instagram and Twitch and here on YouTube, Bobster360. I do all kinds of like Mezco coverage. Getting into like the live stream game a little bit too. It's going. I'm learning skills behind the scenes to make sure that when I really embark on that journey, it's gonna be legit. So definitely subscribe to me on YouTube. We can talk toys all day, baby.
There you go. And Kevin, I know that you are like are the John Cena of this group. You can't see him.
I don't really do any kind of like social medias. However, I do have another YouTube show that I do with my friend. It's called
Cheating on us?
A little bit. It's called Ale House Game Reviews. And we shoot basically we review board games because that's what is popular. Nice. Having game nights, and we review board games, and there's a ton of them. Like we review games like, not specifically, but like Cards Against Humanity, Exploding Kittens, and then of course the popular Hasbro games categories. A new version of Monopoly. We usually those episodes come out one Friday per month. But if you just go on Ale House Games, that'll pop up if you just Google that, and you'll see me and my friend. We review those games. That's it. That's all I do.
My fiance and I just got back into playing Monopoly. Like I'd never really played. Neither did she. We had it laying around, and I finally got my first win in. Good. I'm very happy.
Nice. Was it Was it a millennial Monopoly where you get paid in experience instead of money?
It was Super Mario.
Okay.
Monopoly. And then we also played because she wanted it really badly, the Grogu edition.
Oh yeah,
popular.
Yes, which it was a very condensed version. I will say she is ruthless. With no irony. She is ruthless. She will try and bankrupt me within 20 minutes.
She's a slumlord.
She goes for the jugular. As always, you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Bayou City Geeks. Episode 51 hopefully will be coming out soon, just because I haven't edited it and I'll be kind of slacking on that. But we will have episode 52 upcoming soon. All right, so that is part 1 of Diorama, episode 22. Coming up, obviously, part 2. See you soon.